Week 3 of the NFL season is upon us, previewing and making picks for the rest of the weekend's games, including Monday Night Football that we did not get to on yesterday's program when we were making picks for Thursday Night Football and our six-pack of favorite games. Still a lot of good games to cover here on today's episode of Peacock and Williamson.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson here with you. Thanks for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Tons of games on the Week 3 slate that should be a lot of fun. I want to start with a game that I think is going to be a sneaky good game, not because the teams are amazing, but because they might be somewhat evenly matched. And we've got the Chicago Bears to start, Matt, Sunday morning. Well, morning for me, afternoon for some of you on the East Coast. Chicago Bears hosting the Houston Texans. The Bears at home favored by 2.5 points here. So that tells us that probably on a neutral field, maybe they even like the Texans by 0.5 point. What do you think about this line? What do you think about the Bears and Texans? To me, really what I want to see is this is not against the 49ers. It's not against the Packers like the Bears started the season. Mm-hmm. This is a team in the Texans, which might be, scrappier than we want to give them credit for. But I want to see Justin Fields have one of those games, a signature game where you're like, okay, this guy's going to be trouble someday, especially when he gets more weapons around him. But now when you have a team that maybe matches up better against you, you can start to see that shine. Made a couple of plays in week number 1 in a monsoon, creating, rolling out, finding a guy, but I want to see more. Hits his back foot, makes a throw, and you're like, wow, that's why you're drafting this guy and trading up to draft him in the first round.
Yes, and to a much lesser degree, Davis Mills as well. But Fields, you want to shine in this situation. And I don't know if I've ever told our audience this approach, but I mean, everyone knows I do a daily radio show for the Steelers, directly for the team. And a lot of times on that show, I like to just throw out there, if this was a Locked On Browns, or if this was a Brown show or a Patriots show, what would they be saying about us as opposed to looking at everything through our lens? So, like, if I was a host of the Bears show or host of the Texans show this week, I'd be like, this is the team to get us right, If we can't beat these guys, we're nobody, And really, as an outsider, I look at them and say, this is about as even as matchup as you can have. They may pick first and second in the draft when it's all said and done. We might have conversations like Mills versus Bryce Young, Fields versus Stroud, things like that could be on the horizon. But you're right. I mean, I want to see 4 or 5, and most of all Fields, shine in this game. You're not overmatched. Go beat the guys in front of you. I'm going to take the points, though, because I think they're exactly even teams.
I'm looking at Davis Mills' stats so far this year, and he hasn't been lighting it up yet. He's sub 60% completion, 56% completion. He's got 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's good. You're not turning the ball over, but only 5.6 average per throw. So, nothing high level from Davis Mills, and you don't want to put too much on him, but he's also got a ton to play for this season. Does he have a starting job in the NFL going forward? This might be the only season he gets. And if he doesn't do it now, he's backup guy forever, right? Or if he plays well this year, that might buy you 3 more years of being a starter in the NFL. I mean, those are huge stakes for a guy like Davis Mills this year. So that's an exciting thing for him and for this team, and to watch them build the thing they've got going. We're talking about Davis Mills against Justin Fields, and we do have to move on in this game. But to be honest with you, I think both head coaches are probably going into this game thinking it's more like David Montgomery versus Damian Pierce, right?
Yeah, right.
Probably how it'll end up. It looked like in week 2, because we thought it was going to be Pierce's job all along. Week 1, Rex Burkhead's kind of leading the show. I was like, wait a second, Rex Burkhead? And he's 2.9 yards per carry. And then last week, it looks like Damian Pierce did usurp Rex Burkhead, and he's the top dog there in the backfield for the Houston Texans.
It definitely looks like it. So, yeah, let's move on. But this should be a very fun game. I kind of wish it was a Thursday night and I could just watch every snap.
Give me the Bears, by the way. Bears by
okay.
a field goal, so the 2.5, not quite enough for me.
Gotcha.
I just think it's more likely for Justin Fields and David Montgomery to do big things than the other two that we're talking about. And I do like some signs that the Bears showing on defense. Obviously, Bears defensive head coach Matt Eberflus. I think they're going to be well coached on that side of the ball. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Tennessee Titans. These are big stakes here because you go on 3 and you can start making plans for February, right? And you can start making vacation plans in January and February if you're the Raiders or the Titans. If you start 0-3, 0-2, nobody made the playoffs last year that started 0-2, so you might already be up against it for the Titans. That's a very winnable division. It might already be over in the playoffs for the Las Vegas Raiders, although there's a glimmer of hope. One of your division opponents, star quarterback in Justin Herbert, has a rib injury. That might open a door there. Russell Wilson and the Broncos starting slow. That might still have a door open that this division isn't as good as we thought they were coming into the year. But, man, this is so important because 0-3, and you can really start making those offseason plans if you're the Raiders or Titans.
100%. I think people know where I'm leaning this way. I mean, I think the Raiders are a little unfortunate to be 0-2. I think Tennessee deserves to be 0-2. Two AFC playoff teams last year that are in a bad situation here, as you mentioned. I just think the Raiders are at least a tier, maybe 2 tiers above where the Titans are, and their offense is way better than Tennessee's.
Las Vegas on the road, favored by 2 points. And by the way, all the lines you're going to hear on today's show are from our friends at Bet Online. And by the way, one of the things you can bet on there is which quarterback gets replaced first, which starting quarterback. Yeah, and Ryan Tannehill's got 1-to-1 odds, by far the favorite and could that happen in week 3 here? If things go that badly, you just go with the young guy. And I didn't see anything from Malik Willis last week when he played at the end of the fourth quarter of that game against the Bills and maybe think, okay, well, they should just go to him sooner. He doesn't look like he's quite ready. But, you get to see the speed of the game a little bit and start to grow if you're that quarterback. But, man, an 0-3 start for the Titans, you might have to start thinking in those terms. But the Titans play tough at home. I expect a game here that is hard fought by the Tennessee Titans. I just like the firepower from the Raiders, and I don't know if there's enough firepower on the Titans roster to take advantage of that back seven of the Raiders, which is my biggest problem probably with the Raiders team going forward this year that might hold them back. And it's funny because head coach Josh McDaniels of the Raiders is talking about how we got to learn how to win. It's like, well, they were a 10-win team last year. I mean, you might be a worse team this year than last year. So slow down, coach.
Yeah, good point. I don't think it's going to happen, but if I was hosting a Titans radio show, I'd be like, this is a team to get Derrick Henry back to who he is and 150 yards and win your fantasy week with Henry. I just don't see it.
For my fantasy football team in our dynasty league, actually the Locked On Dynasty League, I would like Henry to get going. That'd be kind of nice because
the left tackle's out though, Lawan too. I mean, they got a lot of problems.
I mean, that's tough. Do you think that it's done for? I mean, is Derrick Henry just not that guy anymore? Basically, last year he got hurt, and that was going to be the end of it.
I don't know. I need to see a little bit more. I mean, he's a hard guy to doubt. He's such a freak.
But you're right, and they wouldn't be wrong on that radio show talking about that.
Yeah, right.
Like that's what got you to the places you've been. Ride that horse, right? Like Derrick Henry's got to get back on track if this team has any hopes of doing something and keep that Raiders offense, keep Derek Carr and Devontae Adams off the field. Yeah. We both have the Raiders in that one?
Yes, pretty clearly.
How about the Chiefs and Colts? This one on paper looks like it should be very easily Chiefs, but they're on the road at the Colts. I'm sure the Colts will come back after being completely blanked by the Jaguars with a little bit of a vengeance this week, a little bit of a extra, a little bit of extra step in their giddy up, right? It's I'm sure they were ridden hard in practice this week. The line is 5.5. I thought it had potential to be even more, which makes me, 5.5 points is a lot for a road team, but I think I want to give away those points and take Kansas City 5.5 on the road at the Colts.
I absolutely think so. I'm shocked that this line's that low, not just because they lost to the Jags last week, but their O-line is bad. Matt Ryan is struggling. I guess Pittman will play, but who are the guys, Pittman and Taylor, and that's about it on the offense. I just don't think they make it hard enough on Mahomes in a dome. I think he throws all over these guys and wins by 10.
And that's what we talked about in the offseason, looking at the Colts roster is like, well, if it's not going to be Pittman, who else are they going to be throwing the ball to? Like Mike Hines or so that's still a problem for the Indianapolis Colts this year. And they didn't look like a team that was ready to contend the first couple of weeks of the season. 0-1-1. They've got to find their first win. It might be tough to find against the 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs here in week 2. All right. Tons more games to get to next. We've got Ravens, Patriots. We've got Monday Night Football as well. Saints, Panthers in the division. Tons of good games in week 3. But let's talk about the folks at Brightco who are smart folks and have made buying insurance for your engagement ring, for your watch, for whatever jewelry you have really friggin' easy. So you can get covered in 2 minutes on your cell phone. It is that easy at Brightco. And here's a lesson. You don't want to be that guy. And they've got tons of videos, by the way, at Brightco. Bright.co/lockedon is the address that you can find tons of these videos, and most of them are hilarious, and some of them give me anxiety with someone that proposes at a stadium and you see the ring trickle down the steps and is gone forever, or tink tink and drops through the cracks of a pier into the ocean, and you see somebody dive into the water. It's like that thing is gone. So don't be one of those guys, and if you are, hopefully you have some insurance on that quite expensive jewelry. It's the fastest and easiest and cheapest way to get your butt covered and your jewelry or watch covered with the best jewelry insurance in the business. And you can go check out those videos at Brightco/lockedon. They got a ton of hilarious videos there. Again, it's Bright.co/lockedon. Less than 2 minutes on your cell phone. You can get yourself covered. Brightco/lockedon. Okay, Matt. Moving along here on the week 3 schedule of games. And by the way, if we didn't talk about your team today, it's because we talked about them yesterday in our 6-pack of favorite games for week 3. The Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. Both of these teams coming in at 1-1. This is a pretty good early season matchup of a couple teams, I'm sure, with playoff aspirations. I'm not sure if the Patriots roster is up to it, but they were victorious last week against your Steelers, Matt. What did you see with those Patriots? Do you think they're going to be competitive this year? Can they be competitive in this game against the Ravens, who are favored by 3 on the road?
I mean, they were certainly the better team in Pittsburgh last week, deserved to win, but I didn't change my opinion of them. I don't think their roster is particularly good. Home dog, big Bill Belichick. I mean, can you bet against that? That sounds like it's a hard thing to have fall out of your mouth. I am going to bet against that, though. I think Baltimore is much better than New England. Harbaugh's done quite well against Belichick over the years, comparatively speaking. I mean, Belichick owns everybody, but the Ravens have some holes though too. I mean, their secondary allowed a lot of big plays, some O-line issues, not running the ball particularly well. I just think Lamar is such a X factor here. I'm betting on the Ravens.
And you saw the Ravens last week go up big early on the Dolphins before the Dolphins came back, but the Patriots don't have speed like the Dolphins have to take advantage of the back end of your defense and create, a really tough atmosphere to cause some problems for you on the back end and cause some miscommunication. So for that reason, I'm giving up the 3 points. I'm taking the Ravens because I agree with you. I think they're just a much better football team, and I have liked what I've seen from Rashad Bateman so far, becoming Lamar Jackson's number 1 wide receiver. Obviously, Mark Andrews at tight end as well, and we haven't even seen Lamar really play at the elitist of levels quite yet. It wasn't even a high volume game, even though he scored a lot of points and his stats look great. I think there's even more there from him this year as Bateman really gets going. He's only got 6 receptions on the year for 167 yards, which is kind of crazy, taking a long one to the house. And by the way, the Ravens this year have the 2 fastest ball carriers in the league, both about 21 and a half miles per hour. Bateman last week on the long touchdown was second to only Devin Duvernay on the same team on his return touchdown. So there you go. They got a little bit of speed of their own, do the Baltimore Ravens on offense. So look for Rashad Bateman's breakout to continue with Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens defeat those New England Patriots at least by 3.
Yeah, I'm with you.
The Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. 2-0 Eagles seem like they're in command now of that division, especially with Dak Prescott.
In command. I like what you did there.
Hey, there we go. I would like to pretend I did that on purpose, but I did not. I do like what I've seen from some of the pass catchers with the Commanders, and Carson Wentz already has 7 touchdown passes this year and 650 passing yards, so they can put up some points. They're 1-1 now, and they're at home, yet 6.5 point underdogs to the visiting Philadelphia Eagles, Matt.
Yeah, this isn't a bad line. I do like that it's under a touchdown. I'm going to take the Eagles. I wonder if they're due just to trip up a little bit. I mean, all the success so fast. Are they really that good? I tend to think so. I mean, I really like both all their big men on both sides of the ball. The way Hurts played last week was phenomenal. Washington's secondary is allowing a ton of big plays. I mean, they're just such a sieve right now. I think A.J. Brown and company all go off. But, Wentz revenge game, I kind of like how he's playing in this offense. Kind of leaning towards the over on this one, but I'm going to lay the points.
I was just going to say that. I kind of like the over. 47
Yeah.
I don't think is very high for what these teams could put up there. And Wentz obviously has never been afraid to chuck it, and he's got some weapons on the outside. I've liked what I've seen from Jahan Dotson, just seeing how he played in college, transferring to the NFL, and obviously Terry McLaurin over there as well. And then you mentioned
Curtis Samuel too. He's making
Curtis Samuel,
yeah.
They Quez Watkins has been doing things. A lot of the talk about A.J. Brown on the Eagles offense, but Quez Watkins has that speed, and obviously Devontae Smith is a really good player. So. And I think he could go big in some games as well. And you said it with Jalen Hurts. That's the sliding scale of how good this team is. What's the Eagles' ceiling this year is how good Jalen Hurts can be. And that's continuing to slide upward. So there's no limit now. If Jalen Hurts is going to play like he did in the first couple of weeks, if he's going to continue to play that way, then wow, sky's the limit for the Eagles. But 6.5. I am going to take the points here, home dog, just because there might be enough points scored in this one where it's somewhat close. Give me the points. Give me the home.
I don't love the line. I think that's a proper line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The New Orleans Saints, at 1-1, they're traveling to the 0-2 Carolina Panthers and are favored by just 2.5 points here in this one. I would have thought it might have been a bigger line, but I guess neither team has shown that they are neither team has played all that well, to be honest with you, this season. Right. Even the Saints in their win, narrowly getting out of Atlanta with a win in week 1. Jameis Winston has multiple fractures in his back. McCaffrey not really getting going yet. The Panthers seem like a mess, even with Baker Mayfield, and you thought that might be an upgrade. It has not been yet. I don't know what to think about this game except for the Saints need to get right, and this might be the game to do it.
Yeah, I do think these are two pretty good defenses. Carolina's offense still is not helping the defense like last year. They're not running many plays. Mayfield's not playing particularly well. I do think we'll see McCaffrey versus Kamara. Kamara sat last week. I think that's exciting. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you're a big air yards guy or not, but an air yard is wherever the receiver is downfield when they're targeted, not necessarily a catch. Chris Olave had over 300 air yards last week, which is unheard of. I've never heard anyone close to 300. I mean, they're just chucking bombs to him. Didn't hit on any, right. But Winston to Olave, just whipping it down the field. I think the Saints are just in a better place, but I got to say the quarterback with a bunch of broken bones in his back doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, but Andy Dalton could get him out of the game if they had to.
The depth of target to actual receiving yards, not a great ratio there for a lot. They're trying it, and I guess maybe, are they bound to hit on some of those eventually? Could this be the week?
That was kind of my point. Yeah. I mean, I bet they're not going to stop.
This might not be the best secondary to do it against, though. If there's something for the Panthers of saving grace, they do have some talent on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see if they can limit the Saints. And it looks like the folks at Bet Online think it's going to be low scoring. 41 is the over-under, one of the lowest of the weekend. So that's the type of game that could be pretty tight. And it's only 2.5 points, which makes me think the Saints could win by a field goal. So even though they're on the road, I'm going to give away those points and take the New Orleans Saints. Yeah,
I am too. I mean, you hope this doesn't turn into a 7 interception fest between Baker and Winston trying to do too much. Like they have it in them.
Trying to play hero ball.
Right.
And you hope Winston doesn't take like one more hit and that's it and he's done. And, what is it? Is Taysom Hill still the backup even there?
I think it's Dalton, isn't it? I think Andy Dalton's
there. Oh, Dalton. There we go.
Yeah. So they're okay.
Okay. Los Angeles Rams staying in with a division matchup here. The Los Angeles Rams in the NFC West traveling to Arizona to play the Cardinals. Both teams at 1-1, but I came away after 2 weeks of the season much more impressed with the Rams' one victory than the Cardinals' one victory, and neither loss was really super impressive. But at least the Rams lost to the Buffalo Bills, might be the best team in the NFL, and it was oddball week 1. Rams on the road favored by 3.5 points.
Not a brutal place to play. Rams have done it a lot. I don't think this line is that much of an obstacle for me not to take the Rams. Donald versus that line, I think, is a big problem for Arizona, but maybe not as bad as their secondary versus Kupp and Robinson and whoever else. Higbee's getting a lot of targets. I'll take Stafford in this one. I think the Rams are just a much better team.
Right. And the Raiders last week couldn't put away the Cardinals, but they were, they won most of that game. They were winning 3/4 of that game. I think the Rams can put away the Cardinals and not allow Kyler to make some video game-like plays and video game-like 2-point conversions late to win that game for the Cards. So give me the Rams. I'll give up those 3.5 points.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This could be a nice game, though, for Kupp and for for Allen Robinson, who kind of got going last week, and keep that going in the passing game for the Rams.
Yeah, I think they can put a lot of points up against Arizona. I am not impressed at all with that offense or defense. I'm sorry, Arizona's defense.
Yes, I totally agree with you there. And of course, you can bet on all of these games at betonline.net, your number one source for football betting and information this season. It's not just about the wagering. It's about having the right information for that wagering, and you can get it all at BetOnline. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, in-depth articles, and analysis on every game you can find, including week 3 and beyond. Tons of prop bets as well season-long bets at BetOnline, your continued source for all your sports wagering information, live betting, and up-to-date scores for every sport out there, not just NFL, Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, golf, you name it, even Vegas casino games at BetOnline. Get over to BetOnline today. Use your mobile device to learn more about all the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, checking in on some of these other BetOnline lines for week 3, Matt, including the Atlanta Falcons at Seattle Seahawks, which is a game that I will watch the least. I apologize to the Falcons fans and Seahawks fans that listen to this podcast on Monday. I'm probably not going to have a lot to talk about in this game unless something happens that makes me want to go back and watch it some more.
It's funny because I almost just flat out interrupted you there and said, we kind of started this podcast talking Bears and Texans, and boy, this could be kind of fun and they could get each other right. And then I look at this game and it's a pick 'em, and I'm like, I don't really want to do anything with this game.
I think it says something about the state of the Falcons and the Seahawks is that I would rather watch the Bears and the Texans.
And it's not even close, and I'm not exactly sure why. At least there's a Justin Fields factor.
Right.
I mean, trust me, somewhat selfishly for fantasy reasons, I want Kyle Pitts to have 180 yards and 4 touchdowns finally, and we can stop him, with that conversation. Sure, there's a couple interesting players, but Seattle's low on my list. I mean, real low of watchability.
By the way, did you hear Arthur Smith's comments about Kyle Pitts? Because he was asked the very same question, and it wasn't really a good answer for those folks that own Kyle Pitts in fantasy football, because essentially Arthur Smith said, we're trying to win football games here. This ain't fantasy football. But they are trying to get him targeted.
Not winning football games.
It's not broken. But at the same time, it's like, well, you're not winning, so maybe you should try something different, like target him even more than you already have.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams, of course, have played 2 games. Atlanta has been competitive in both. Seattle beat Denver, but I still look at them as massive bottom feeders.
I can't believe this game is even, to be honest with you. This is the easiest weekend to take the Seahawks at home. It's always hard to play in Seattle, and they've at least shown us a lot more than the Falcons have, and they still have a better roster. And, Mariota versus Geno Smith, I could see if you would argue maybe Mariota's a little bit better, but they're kind of both high-end backups. And they're just, I just have a lot better feeling about what the Seattle Seahawks can do here than the Falcons. And at home, I would think you would have to give the Seahawks a bump being the home team here. And the fact that it's even makes it easy for me to say, I'd throw my money down on the Seahawks.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think Vegas thinks that Atlanta is a 3-point better team. I just can't see a young Atlanta team handling the Seattle situation well.
And by the way, at some point, and if he's available in your fantasy leagues, Kenneth Walker, second round running back, got a little glimpse of him. He was active for the first time last week. He's good. I mean, he is a pure runner, and I know Rashad Penny's blocking him right now, and Penny's a good runner in his own right. But if Penny gets hurt and it ends up Walker's job, I think he could go off as a rookie. And he plays for a coach that wants to run the heck out of the ball. So Ken Walker's a name to look for this year going forward, because we know what Rashad Penny's injury history looks like.
Not fighting you. I agree. Everything you said about Walker as the player, but DJ Dallas and Homer are still in the mix too. I mean, it's crowded. Did you happen to see the 4 running back pass play? It was one of the funnier, more pathetic things I've seen in recent memory.
I did see that. It was their only opportunity to get an offensive score in that game too. And DJ Dallas is just like, oh, hey, look at this. I'm going to throw this beautiful pass to a wide receiver in the end zone. Oh, wait, there's a defender right between me and that receiver, and throws an interception. It was like, it was one of those head scratchers from Pete Carroll trying to maybe a little bit too hard to score on the Niners last week.
He was going to throw it no matter what.
That was pretty funny. That was okay. Where are we at here? We
are
just
a Monday nighter, right?
Yeah, Monday Night Football. We've got a good one. I'm sure both fan bases are gearing up for this in the NFC East. The 2-0 New York Giants are hosting the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys, led by one Cooper Rush. Who has the advantage at quarterback?
I can't imagine picking the Giants to go 3-0. But
there's some Daniel Jones out. There's some Daniel Jones fans out there that are super mad at me right now for even asking that question. And Daniel
I
Jones
brushed it off because I wasn't positive. Yeah. I think there's a small, slim case to say Cooper Rush isn't horrible. You know, like he could be okay. He played well last week.
Yeah, he didn't completely, the bed, which is important.
Right, exactly.
To stay alive. And if Dak Prescott really is going to come back in 4 weeks, maybe you are okay. And there's a ton of talent, right? Like Daniel Jones.
Squeak this one out.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is going to have a pass rush in his face, very likely. And there's an opportunistic defense behind that pass rush that could help out the Cowboys. Can they get anything else going? Can they get CeeDee Lamb going a little bit? I know a lot of fantasy drafters out there took him high, potentially at the end of the first round, maybe the early second round, and he's given them nothing so far. Can that get going for the Dallas Cowboys? But at home, the New York Giants, I like what Dable's got this team doing right now.
Yeah.
A lot of Saquon Barkley. I'm giving up 1 point at home. I think the Giants can win this one by a field goal. So give me the New York Giants going 3-0 to start the season.
Yeah, I would imagine the fans will be optimistic and revved up, and unless things go bad ugly right away, and then they'll be turned on them in no time. So from what I recall, Cooper Rush won one game last year in Minnesota. So we're either betting on Cooper Rush to go 3-0 as a starter or the Giants to go 3-0 in an NFL season. Neither seems real strong.
And the thing that happens a lot with these backup quarterbacks too, the first game, they have a little something, little magic, team rallies behind the backup. And then the opposing coaches who get paid a lot go look through that tape and they're like, well, we're going to do this and this against Cooper Rush. Good luck. And then that's that.
Right.
And they turn into a pumpkin real quick. And you see that a lot. So does that happen this week against the Giants is the question.
I'm going to take the Giants. They're at home. I do trust their quarterback. They may even have the coaching edge. They probably the playmaker edge at this point. You know, Shepard's played well, and who knows what Tony and
Hey, don't sleep on my guy Richie James. Been a big fan of Richie James for a long time. Finally getting a big opportunity with the Giants. Been their leading receiver. They need some other guys to step up as well, but he's been out touching Kadarius Toney in that Giants offense.
I didn't see that coming, but I guess that's a good way to wrap this thing up.
Yeah,
considering the barn burner we're talking about here. So,
well, look, Matt, there's so much that happens every single week because the NFL is chaos that you don't see coming. And of course, we're going to have that all covered for you next Monday, right? And you said you do have the Giants at home?
I'll take the Giants. Yeah.
There you have it. That is the week 3 slate of games. I'm sure it will be fun. I'm sure there will be tons of chaos. And of course, whatever does happen, we will have it all broken down for you on Monday right here. Peacock and Williamson.